Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Noah here. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Wednesday, September the 2nd. We're going to break down these two games. We got Miami-Milwaukee in Game 2 of their series, and then we got Game 7, first-round series between OKC and Houston. We'll take a look at this slate, go position by position, talk about the plays that stand out to me the most, what I see looking at this slate the night before. I am recording this video on Tuesday night, so these are just some of my early thoughts, what I see the night before. We'll take a look at DraftKings pricing. We'll hit on some guys I like over on Yahoo as well. Just before we do get started, guys, as always, I would appreciate it if you would hit that like button down below. Definitely appreciate all the likes. Hit the subscribe button as well. If you are new here, if you've never watched a video on my channel, thank you so much for clicking on the video. I do appreciate it. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. It is free. We are on the road to 20,000 subscribers. I'm hoping we're going to hit that probably by the end of September. We should hit 20,000 by the end of September. Definitely help me reach that goal by hitting that subscribe button. Click the notification bell as well, so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You'll never miss out on any of my new videos. I am uploading NBA videos every single day to this YouTube channel. When NFL starts in about a week or two, I'm going to be uploading NFL videos as well. I'll have videos for the showdown slates. I'll obviously have videos up for the main slate as well. Going to have a ton of NFL content coming out along with NBA once NFL does start. So you're not going to want to miss out on my new videos. Hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell. Also, if you would like, I do have more content available on Patreon. Obviously, it's optional. You don't have to, but if you want to get more content from me and if you want to help support me, my Patreon is linked down below in the description. You can check out all that I have to offer down over there, down in the description. It is the beginning of a new month. Those are usually the best times to join Patreon with how their payment system works. They charge you when you sign up and then at the first of every month. So to get the most value out of your money, I would recommend signing up for the Patreon as early on in the month as you can. Definitely check that out if you would like. It's linked down below. But let's go ahead and take a look at point guard for today. So at the top, we got James Harden, 11,200 against OKC, and then we got Giannis, obviously, who's coming off a disappointing game. We'll talk about him when we get to power forward. Those are our two studs above 10K. Our next most expensive player is Russell Westbrook at 8,900. So there is a pretty big gap when you talk about Harden and Giannis. To the next guy, there's a big gap down to Westbrook. Talking about Harden, though, I haven't been playing him lately with Westbrook back. He definitely loses usage, just not as productive of a fantasy player with Westbrook on the floor. And we've kind of seen that the last two games. The last two games that Westbrook's been healthy and been playing, only 45 and 51 DraftKings points from Harden. Still playing his normal minutes, played close to 40 minutes last game. Only played 28 minutes in Game 5, but that was mainly due to blowout. Definitely lost minutes in that game because of blowout. I still don't think I can pay 11.2 for Harden. I just don't think it's necessary. Sure, Harden can go out there and drop 60, 65, 70 DK points, whenever he wants. But he definitely takes a hit with Westbrook back, doesn't get as much usage. And plus, there isn't a ton of great value today. So if you pay up for Harden or even Giannis, you're definitely going to have to make some sacrifices. You're probably going to have to play some cheaper guys that you don't feel too confident in. So me personally, I don't think I'm going to get to Harden today. I was on Giannis last slate, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be, as heavy on Giannis last slate as I will be today. We'll talk more about that when we get to power forward. But then you have Westbrook for 8,900. So I've actually been playing Westbrook on Yahoo because he's been really cheap. He's even cheaper today. He's $39. I don't think we know yet what his minutes are going to look like for this game. He played 27 minutes last game in a competitive game. I think he's going to be about 30 minutes today. I don't think they're going to, push him to his normal minutes. He's still going to be limited some. He's been terrible the last two games. I'll just be honest with you. It's, at least for DFS, just 27 and 25 DraftKings points. Even last game, real life, I'm pretty sure I was watching the game towards the end. I remember Westbrook, was driving to the basket, tried to kick out to Robert Covington, or I can't remember who he was kicking out to, but he threw a really wild pass, forced a turnover. Westbrook hasn't been great so far. The price came down, so I guess there is a little bit of appeal, especially if we can get, 30 minutes from Westbrook. I doubt I get to him, though, on DK. If I was going to play him, it would probably be on Yahoo. Because at $39, there's still upside for Westbrook. If he gets 30 minutes, there's definitely potential for him to get 50 fantasy points in 30 minutes. He has that kind of potential. I just don't think he's going to be a core play for me. He hasn't been a core play for me at all. I've definitely been overweight on him. He's been really, really low owned, 10% owned or less. I've been playing him in about 15 to 20% of my lineups, getting overweight on the field. I'll probably be overweight on him again just because I think there is upside for Westbrook. He's not going to be a guy that, depends, like my night depends on if Westbrook could do well, because I just don't think that's necessary. He's not going to be popular. You don't need to play a ton of Westbrook to get overweight on him. I'll play, enough to get overweight, and that'll probably be it for me. We have some other guys, though, in the mid-range that I definitely want to talk about. Chris Paul. I wasn't too heavy on Chris Paul last slate, and it burned me. I definitely liked SGA and Schroeder more. Chris Paul had the best game between the three, 48 DraftKings points in 40 minutes. I mean, Chris Paul, you can definitely play him today. I still don't think he's going to be like a core play for me. I mean, we know the kind of upside Paul has. He's going to get big minutes. This is a Game 7. Very likely we get 40, 42 minutes from Chris Paul. He's got the upside to drop, 50, 55 DK points. I still like some of these cheaper guys, though. I tweeted it out after the Rockets lost. I tweeted out that I hope the Rockets win on Game 6, win that Game 6 series, and close out the series, so that way I don't have to play SGA anymore. Well, obviously they didn't win, and we have another slate with SGA. I mean, this dude has just completely screwed me. I've played him the last two slates. I was on him as well when he went off and had big games, so I guess he kind of did well for me. But the last two slates, I've been all over SGA, and he's just been so bad. 11 DraftKings points, 22 DraftKings points. Man, he's still so cheap today. He's 7,100. We know he's going to play probably 40, 42 minutes if this is a close game. This is still a guy that gives you a fantasy point per minute. Most nights he's averaging a fantasy point per minute, even more than that. I can't just completely write off SGA. I know I know he's been a guy that's just completely tilted me and everyone else that's rostered him. But maybe because he's been so bad lately, his ownership comes down. But like we saw, Tuesday night with Jaylen Brown, Jaylen Brown was putting up consistently like 35 DK points, really wasn't getting the job done. And then he went out and had a pretty good game Tuesday night. I think he finished with like 40 or 42 DK points. These guys still have upside. I don't want to look at game logs too much and let that just decide what I do with a player. I still think SGA is a really good play at his price. I know it's kind of a joke at this point playing him because it seems like it never works out. But it's hard for me to just completely write him off. His price came down on Yahoo as well. He's down to $26 over here. I still like SGA a ton. He's still a really strong play in my opinion. If he goes out there and sucks again, well, hopefully the Rockets win so I don't have to consider playing him in the second round and we can just be done with this. But I'm going to be overweight on SGA again. I just think there's so much upside for him, especially he's going to play 40, 42 minutes. I know he's disappointed the last two games, but I'm not going to let that, I'm not going to let that game log, factor in my decision on whether I want to roster a guy. I don't want to, weight game log too heavily. I think it's important, you can definitely see how these guys are playing in these playoff series, but just because they're having, bad games, that doesn't mean you should just completely write them off. SGA is still a pretty good option in my opinion. Then Goran Dragic, another guy I like quite a bit. Pretty heavy on him last slate. He was someone that definitely treated me well. I mean, Dragic has just been so good in the playoffs. I mean, bit as consistent as it gets. Over 40 DraftKings points in 3 of his 5 playoff games. Getting 34 to 36 minutes a night right now. He is their starting point guard. It looks like they're going to continue to give him big minutes every night. And we know Dragic is a very productive player when he gets minutes. Even playing alongside Jimmy Butler and Bam, like Dragic can still average over a fantasy point per minute. He's one of those guys that can contribute in all categories. He can score, he can grab rebounds, he can get you a couple assists. I really like Dragic, even with the price coming up. I still think he's a very strong option in the mid-range. I like him a lot on Yahoo as well. They only bumped his price up to $24. He's 23 last slate. Didn't bump him up enough, in my opinion. I still think he's a very strong option in the mid-range. I really like Dragic again. And then Dennis Schroeder as well, I think is very appealing. He was someone that also disappointed last game. Got big minutes, but just wasn't very productive. Just 25 DraftKings points. Still, we know Schroeder's going to play, 35, 36 minutes, even coming off the bench. He's a high-usage player. He's a guy that can score, can grab rebounds, can get assists. He can contribute in all categories. I still like Dennis Schroeder a lot. I don't want to look at the game log, see two, somewhat disappointing games and just completely write him off and say I can't play him. I mean, it's literally a 2-game slate. You can't, fade everyone. You've got to take some stands. I'm going to be heavy on these OKC guys again, and if they go out there and suck again, then I'll just lose and I'll move on to the next slate. But I feel like people are going to shy away from guys like SGA and Schroeder because they've had, back-to-back bad games. Maybe Chris Paul gets more ownership than he should. I still like SGA and Schroeder a lot for their prices, especially because they are, a good amount cheaper than Paul. I like Schroeder a lot on Yahoo. I think that's where he really stands out the most. If you look at his Yahoo price, he's coming in at just $20, same price as Eric Bledsoe. Like, give me Dennis Schroeder all day over Eric Bledsoe. I mean, we don't even know if Eric Bledsoe is going to play today, but if he does, like, I would definitely rather have Schroeder over him. Schroeder's going to play probably 5 to 6 more minutes than Bledsoe. He's also a more productive player overall. Definitely like Schroeder on Yahoo. And I think on DK, very strong option as well at 6,400. But Eric Bledsoe, that is an injury we have to watch today. That's really the only injury we need to watch. He is questionable. He did not play last game. I don't know if he plays today. I'm just going to assume that he does because it's the playoffs, and I feel like, in the playoffs, these guys are going to try and play if they can. It was kind of surprising that Bledsoe didn't play in Game 1. We'll just have to wait and see. If Bledsoe plays, I probably won't be going to him. But if he's out again, George Hill I think is definitely viable. George Hill did start last game with Bledsoe out and played 36 minutes, which is way more than I thought he would play. He was incredibly disappointing, in that time, just 13 Draftkings points in 36 minutes. But if you tell me that Eric Bledsoe is going to be out again and George Hill is going to play 35, 36 minutes again, like, I will definitely be on George Hill again. I thought he was a top value play once Bledsoe got ruled out. It didn't work out, but if we're going to get 35, 36 minutes from George Hill, this is a guy that can easily, produce enough to pay off a $4,300 salary in 35, 36 minutes. He's not going to get as much usage. He's not going to be as productive playing alongside Giannis and Chris Middleton. But still, the minutes should be there as long as Bledsoe remains out. He should start again. So that's a wait and see for me. If Bledsoe winds up out, I definitely like George Hill at $4,300. George Hill is $10 on Yahoo. He's minimum salary, so he will be a top value play over there as well. Will definitely be a guy that I want to get in. But let's go ahead and move on to shooting guard now. So at this position, you got Jimmy Butler, $8,300. Jimmy Butler was another guy very similar to Chris Paul that I wasn't, I wasn't heavy on at all. I was pretty underweight on him. I just thought he was a bit too expensive on both sides. Well, he went out there and crushed, had 53 Draftkings points in 36 minutes, finished with 40 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block, and 2 steals. I mean, I'm not surprised to see Jimmy Butler play really well in the playoffs. I think this Heat team is incredibly good. I think this Heat team has a legit shot to make the finals. I think they can definitely upset Milwaukee here. $8,300 though, that is pretty expensive for Jimmy Butler. I mean, we know he's a high upside player, but this is a guy you need. I mean, you're going to need like 50 plus from him to pay off that price. I think I would rather save $1,000 and play someone like SGA. Maybe that's a hot take, but SGA can easily, I mean, we've seen SGA go for 45 or 40, 45. We're going to get 40 plus minutes from SGA. He's also $1,000 less than Butler. I still think Jimmy Butler's in play. I think he's a good option, but I don't just want to play guys based on game log. If a guy has a good game, I just don't want to play him the next slate because I feel like that's what a lot of people are going to do. Game logs are weighted very heavily in the playoffs, because it's the same matchup over and over. So maybe SGA, Schroeder, these guys come in lower owned than they should be on a 2-game slate, whereas someone like Jimmy Butler may come in over-owned because he's coming off a good game. I'd rather go to some of the cheaper options at shooting guard. Not saying Butler's going to go out there and put up 30, but I don't know if he gets 50 plus again. Butler's normally giving you like 40 to 45, which is solid, but at $8,300, I definitely want more than that, especially in tournaments. So that's just my take there. If Jimmy Butler goes out there and crushes again and SGA and Schroeder both suck, then like last slate, I'll take the L and I'll move on to the next one. But other shooting guards, SGA, Schroeder, you can obviously play here, who I like. I like both those guys again. Eric Gordon, $5,800. I haven't really been on him now that Russell Westbrook's back. He definitely takes a hit with Westbrook back. He's still going to play pretty big minutes. He's still going to start as well. But his usage does see a pretty big spike down. He goes from when you take Westbrook off the floor, Gordon has like a 30% usage rate. When Westbrook is on the floor, his usage rate drops down to like 22%, I believe. At $5,800, I don't know if I can pay this price for Eric Gordon. He's viable because it's a 2-game slate. I just don't think he's going to be like a first guy in for me. Tyler Hero, I do have interest in. He's another guy that's coming off a disappointing game. Wasn't great in game 1. But still played almost 30 minutes off the bench. Hero's going to play about 30, 32 minutes off the bench. This is a guy that has upside, can knock down shots. It's a big-time pace-up spot here against the Bucks. The Bucks do play at the fastest pace in the league, so that should set up pretty well for Hero. The Bucks also do allow a lot of three-point attempts to opposing teams, and Hero, we know, is a three-point specialist. He can get really hot from the field, just start knocking down shot after shot. Given the savings, I think I would rather play Hero over Gordon today on DraftKings. Iguodala was someone I liked a lot last slate, and he really was disappointing. Just 10 DraftKings points in 19 minutes. It was really surprising to see him only play 19 minutes after he was getting, 26 to 28 minutes most games. It looks like he did have maybe some foul trouble there. He did have 4 fouls in those 19 minutes. I'm not sure if he lost minutes because of foul trouble. I assume he did. I think we get probably 25, 26 minutes from Iguodala today. 3,700, he's definitely not a top value play by any means, but if you're trying to jam in one of the two studs, Harden or Giannis, you're probably going to have to go cheap. If we're talking about guys under 4K, I think Iguodala is probably the guy I would consider. DiVincenzo I thought would be a solid option with Eric Bledsoe out last game, but he didn't really do anything. 14 minutes, 8 DraftKings points. It's really hard to trust him, even if Bledsoe sits again, so can't really go there. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on to small forward now. So at small forward, you got Chris Middleton here, who I haven't touched on. I definitely like Middleton today. I've normally been a Middleton. I'm not going to play Middleton unless one of Giannis or Bledsoe is out. But once we got the news that Bledsoe was out, that did make me like Middleton a lot more on the last slate, and I did get a good amount of exposure to him. And he did have a very good game with Bledsoe out. Played 37 minutes and had 47 DraftKings points. Was pretty productive overall. Kind of shot well from the field, a little bit over his head, 50% from the field, 50% from 3. But Middleton's a guy that can, produce at a high level, can score, can grab rebounds, can get assists as well. He can, produce in all categories. It looks like he did foul out in those 37 minutes. I'm not sure. I would imagine that was towards the end of the game when he fouled out, but, maybe I should have checked that earlier. Maybe he was on pace to play like 40 minutes. I think Giannis played 37 minutes, so I'd expect big minutes for all these Milwaukee starters. At least like Giannis and Middleton definitely should see big minutes. If Bledsoe is out again, I really like Chris Middleton again. I don't think he's too expensive. Between Middleton or Middleton or Butler, that's definitely close. On DraftKings, I'd probably give the edge to Jimmy Butler, but it's close between the two. Now on Yahoo, I think Middleton looks like a great play over here. So Jimmy Butler is actually a shooting guard on Yahoo, and he's $38. Whereas if you look at small forward, you got Chris Middleton coming in $9 less than Butler at $29. And if you look at the small forward position in general, it's just really bad. Not a ton of great plays here. You got Gordon for 20, House for 16, Robinson for 13, and then you got, punt plays. You could play maybe like a Dort for $10 or a Iguodala, I believe is $10 as well. Yeah, so not a ton of great options at small forward. I think paying up for Middleton, whether Bledsoe's in or out, I think Middleton's a guy I probably want to try and get in on Yahoo just because the small forward position's so bad. Middleton could easily outscore the next guy by 20-plus points, and I wouldn't be surprised. He's someone I like quite a bit, and I'm going to like him a lot more if Bledsoe winds up out. This is the first game on the slate, so we'll have that Bledsoe news before lock. It came in like maybe 10 minutes before lock last slate. I don't know if they're going to wait that late today. We'll just have to wait and see. Just be at your computer, be ready to make swaps depending on if Bledsoe's in or out. If he winds up out, that is a boost for Middleton, a boost for Giannis, and obviously, George Hill becomes viable as well. But then other small forwards. So Gallo, I do like quite a bit, 6,100. He finally broke out of his slump. This is one of the reasons, this is why I'm saying to guys, you just don't want to look at game log. Gallo had 2 bad games, 14 DK points, 8 DK points, and then last game put up 38. That's why I don't want to just completely write off SGA and Schroeder. Just because they have 2 bad games doesn't mean they're just going to go out there and keep sucking. These guys still have upside. Gallo's definitely a guy that has some upside. He's not usually a high ceiling player. Usually he's giving you like 30, 35 most nights. Last game he did put up 38 DK points in 28 minutes, had 25 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals. Gallo's definitely scoring dependent, but he's a guy that can score, can get hot. He has a really good jump shot, can definitely get hot from the field. I still like him at 6,100. I still think he's definitely viable in the mid-range. His price is still the same on DK, but it actually came down on Yahoo. I really like him over on Yahoo. You got him coming in at $20. I think he looks like a very strong option there. 38 fantasy points last game is definitely a good play for his price. And if you look at the power forward position, it's kind of similar to small forward. You got Giannis at the top. You got your mid-range options in Covington and Gallo. Then you don't have much after that. You have Crowder for 16. There's really no, there's no $10 power forwards that I would want to play. So you really only have 4 playable options at this position. Gallo, I expect, will probably be one of my highest owned small forward or power forwards on Yahoo. Definitely like him over there. Like him on DraftKings as well at 6,100. I think Covington's also a very solid option. I think Covington probably comes in higher owned than Gallo because he's coming off 2 very good games where he put up 43 and 41 DraftKings points. I don't know if this is the case, but I think getting Westbrook and Harden both in the lineup is probably a boost for Covington because those two guys are going to garner a lot of attention from the defense. They can kick out to Covington, who can get, open threes, should get some open looks with the defense, focusing in on Harden and Westbrook. Last game, you did get 18 points, 5 rebounds, 3 blocks, 5 steals from Covington. Obviously, you don't expect him to get 3 blocks and 5 steals again. But this is a guy that, can get defensive stats. He's a solid defender. He's definitely one of those guys that can get steals and blocks, can knock down 5-6 threes, can grab 5-6 rebounds, can kind of just contribute in all categories. Not really doesn't really get assists, but definitely can knock down threes, grab rebounds, get defensive stats. For $5,900, he's still pretty cheap on DraftKings, so I definitely like Covington as well. Him and Gallo are the guys I like most in that 5K, 6K range. I do prefer them over Gordon and over House. If I'm going to that range, those are the two guys I like most. And then for value here, not a ton of great value. Robinson at $4,700, he's okay, but not someone I feel like I'm going to be playing too heavily. You got Dort and Iguodala, who are both viable as punt plays. Dort, we know, is going to start. Who knows what his minutes look like. He was actually pretty productive last game on a point-per-minute basis. He only played 20 minutes, but he did have 20 DraftKings points in 20 minutes. I don't know what his minutes look like today. The games before that, he was playing 35, 36 minutes, and now he's just getting 20, 22 minutes. My best guess is he probably plays like mid-20s. At 4K, I guess he's not the worst punt play. Same with Iguodala, but these aren't guys I want my night to be riding on. I don't want to have 50, 60% Dort, 50, 60% Iguodala. Sure, if you play those guys, it's going to allow you to get to Giannis. But honestly, I think this is a slate where I really like the mid-range. I don't really want to go stars and scrubs just because the scrubs I don't feel very confident in. So that's going to be the way I approach this slate. I was very high on Giannis, last slate. I still like him a ton. He's definitely going to be in my player pool, and I'm going to have exposure to Giannis. I just don't think he's going to be someone that I have in like 70, 80% of my lineups, because if I do that, I'm going to have to play those cheap guys that I don't feel very confident in. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to power forward now. So obviously you have Giannis at the top here. Another guy I still like, coming off a disappointing game, maybe that lowers his ownership a bit. He did play 37 minutes, though, which is great to see. If we're going to get 36, 38 minutes from Giannis, normally this is a guy we see capped around 30 to 32. They just don't push him, that much, but it looks like they're going to have to push him in this series if they want to actually win. They're already down one game. The Heat are a really good team, like I said. They could definitely pull off the upset here. Giannis is going to have to start playing well if the Bucks want to win this series. 6 turnovers last game. Didn't shoot the ball too well. He was 1 assist shy of a triple-double. So if he gets that 1 assist, he's getting the triple-double bonus. That's going to put him at like 52 DK points. So I guess he kind of ran bad in that regard. I wouldn't expect this bad of a game from Giannis again. We know how productive this guy is. He can literally do everything. Can score, rebound, get assists. He can triple-double any night. He can get you defensive stats. I still like Giannis a ton. He's still my favorite pay-up option. I do prefer him over Harden. I just don't know how much I'm going to play of him. I don't know if I'm going to have as much as I did last slate, just because if you play Giannis, that's just going to constrict. You're going to have to play guys like Dort and Iguodala, who have literally no upside at all. Iguodala I was somewhat confident in last slate, but that was probably a bad mistake by me. Iguodala is just not a guy that goes out there and does much for DFS. I think I'd rather go to these mid-range guys. Even if Giannis gets 60 today, he might not be someone you have to win. Like, you could definitely get 45, 50 from a lot of these 7K, 8K guys like SGA. Even Schroeder has 40-point upside. Obviously, Jimmy Butler, Middleton. Like, these guys can, not saying they're going to outscore Giannis, but they could potentially come close to what he puts up. So that's my take on Giannis today. I still think he's the best stud option. Just don't think he's going to be a, smash play for me like he was last slate. Covington, though, I like in the mid-range. We talked about him. Jae Crowder, I do like for value, 4,600 on DraftKings. He did play 35 minutes last game, which was a bit of a surprise. They were capping Crowder at like 26, 28 minutes. I would say the main reason he got that was because Iguodala only played 19 minutes. Again, I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe Iguodala was in foul trouble. It looks like that was the case, which helped Crowder to get more minutes. I don't know if we get 35 minutes from Jae Crowder again, but even if we get, his normal 26, 28 minutes, Crowder's not a high upside player by any means. He's not going to go out there and drop 40 fantasy points. But at 4,600, it's not like we need that. Even if he gets 25 to 30, that could definitely be good enough at his price. Crowder's one of those guys that can do a little bit of everything, can definitely knock down threes, can get you some rebounds, can get defensive stats as well. He's someone that maybe they could use to match up against Giannis. I'm not sure if Crowder defended Giannis much in that game. I wasn't able to watch much of that game only towards the end is when I was able to catch it. I'll be sure to try and tune in today, see how Crowder plays, like if they match him up with Giannis. Because maybe if Crowder's playing good defense on Giannis, they give him a few more minutes than he normally would. I do like Crowder at 4,600. There's not much to like below 5K today. Crowder's probably my favorite guy, 4,600 on DK. If you just look at the guys under 5K, I mean, even if you go with a mid-range build, like you're still going to have to play at least one of these guys. Hero, we talked about, I do like. We'll talk about some of these other options. George Hill is definitely going to be someone I like at 4,300. But I don't really want to play Dort. I don't really want to play Iggy. There's no one else under 4K that I really like. Duncan Robinson, I'm not the biggest fan of. PJ Tucker's coming off a good game, but I'm not going to play PJ Tucker. He's just not a productive guy for DFS. He'll play big minutes, but he just doesn't do much for fantasy. Jeff Green could be viable, but yeah, you can see there's not much value today. I mean, there hasn't really been any value on these two-game slates anyway, especially not today. Just not a lot of cheap options you feel great about. So if I am going cheap, if I need a value, I think Crowder is my favorite option right now at 4,600. If Eric Bledsoe gets ruled out, then I think George Hill would take that spot and become my favorite value. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to center now. So at the center position, pretty weak position overall. You got Bam at the top. You got Adams, Lopez, and Green in the mid-range. Tucker, I guess, as well. That's really it for center, though. You have pretty much 5 playable options here. I don't think you're going to be playing guys like Baisley, Olynyk, Noel. They're just not going to get enough minutes, in my opinion. So looking at Bam at the top, I definitely think Bam is one of the better plays on the slate, especially because the center position is just not that deep. You don't have a ton of plays here. Kind of the same thing why I said, I like Middleton so much on Yahoo, because you look at small forward and it's just really bad. Not a lot of guys you feel confident in. Well, Middleton is someone I feel pretty confident in, and it's someone I'm definitely going to like a lot if Bledsoe winds up out. Well, looking at center, you could definitely play Bledsoe. You could play Steven Adams. Steven Adams I do like at his price, $18 on Yahoo, 55 or 5,700 on DK. I still do like Steven Adams in the mid-range. He got 31 minutes last game. Wasn't too productive, just 25 DK points. But if you tell me we're going to get 30, 32 minutes from Steven Adams, he definitely has the upside to pay off this price against an undersized Houston front court. But I'm going to be trying to pay up for Bam as much as I can at this position. I like him a lot on DK, and I like him a lot on Yahoo as well. He was really good in Game 1, played really well, 38 minutes, 46 Draftkings points. I mean, Bam's going to get 38 to 40 minutes pretty much every night. We know he's a very productive player. Another guy that can contribute in all categories. Legit has triple-double upside. I think Bam has I know he's triple-doubled at least once this season. I think he's actually done it twice. He can get you points, rebounds, and assists, can get defensive stats as well. 12, 17, and 6 last game with 2 steals. Just such a productive player overall. I like the matchup against Milwaukee. I think they've been using Bam a lot to defend Giannis, which should actually, help him in terms of picking up defensive stats. Definitely could get some steals, get some blocks guarding Giannis, who is a very ball-dominant player. You do worry about the foul trouble, though. Maybe Bam picks up some early fouls against Giannis. That's always a concern, but I'm not going to let that scare me off of him today. I think Bam is clearly the top center player on the slate, and with how weak the position is, he's someone I want to try and get into my lineup. So definitely like Bam at 7,900. Like him on Yahoo as well at $33. But like I said, if you're not going to Bam, you could definitely play Steven Adams, 5,700. I think I would prefer Steven Adams over Brook Lopez. Lopez got off to an incredibly hot start last game. He had 15 fantasy points in 5 minutes, and then kind of cooled off. Just finished with 32 DK points. Was still solid for his price tag. Was definitely better than Adams. But I still think if I can only play one of Lopez or Adams, I would probably rather play Steven Adams. I think Adams just gives you a slight bit more upside, and I also like his matchup more against Houston. Jeff Green, continues to see pretty big minutes off the bench, except last game, only 18 minutes, which is definitely a concern. I don't know if I can go to Jeff Green today. The price did come down at $4,900, but it's definitely concerning that he only got 18 minutes last game. It doesn't look like that was foul trouble either. They just didn't want to play him. It seems like they're going to, go with PJ Tucker and Robert Covington most nights in the front court. They were playing Jeff Green a lot, but with how well Covington's been playing, with how well Tucker's been playing, I think they're probably going to stick to those two guys mainly. Green will still get solid minutes off the bench. I just don't know if he gets 35, 38 minutes like he played against OKC in some of those games. His minutes are probably going to trend down a bit. Tough to trust him at $4,900. And like I said with PJ Tucker, he's going to play big minutes. He got 32 DraftKings points last game, but I'm not going to chase that. PJ Tucker is just not a productive DFS player. Not a guy that really you want to play in DFS. Just doesn't really do much. Kind of just stands in the corner. Kind of got lucky last game with 11 rebounds, 2 steals, 1 block. He did knock down 3 threes, which, he does that from time to time. He'll knock down 3 or 4 threes. I don't know if we're going to get double-digit rebounds, though, from PJ Tucker again. He's always viable just because he plays so many minutes. But that's really the only reason I think you want to play PJ Tucker. I don't think you're playing him expecting 30 DK points again. Like, he just isn't going to give you that. Most games you're getting probably 20, 22 DK points from Tucker, plus the price tag's up to 4,500. So I'll just let others chase that game. I don't really want to go to PJ Tucker today. If you wanted to play him, I guess you could go there on Yahoo because he's really cheap. He is $11 at center. He definitely gives you some potential upside at that price. Still, I don't want my night really riding on if PJ Tucker can give me 25 fantasy points. Just not a guy I really want to play. So that's what I'm liking for this Wednesday night slate. I'm going to be back on these OKC guards. If they suck again, then I'll just lose and I'll move on to the next slate. But I think they're too cheap still. Hopefully they come through for me. I think they have the upside to do so. Maybe with them struggling so much lately, people shy away and you get SGA and Schroeder lower owned than they should be. I want to be overweight on these guys. I think they still have, 40-plus point upside if this game stays close and they play their full minutes. So that's how I'm looking to approach this 2-gamer today, guys. I really appreciate you watching the video. I think we covered everything. Hope you did enjoy. If you did, hit that like button down below before you get out of here. Hit the subscribe button as well. Click that notification bell so that way you get notified every time I upload. And if you really enjoy these YouTube videos and you want to get more content from me, my Patreon is linked down below in the description. You can check out all that I have to offer over there. I do put up NBA content and MLB content on Patreon, and when NFL season starts in a couple weeks, I will be putting up NFL content on Patreon as well. Definitely got a ton of stuff going up there, along with, putting up videos every day on this YouTube channel. So check out the Patreon if you would like. It's linked down below. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.